Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our service. Let's get things started by joining together and singing, "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." We'll sing it through 3 times, once together, and then Paul and I will do it as a round. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, yet again come. Thank you, Paul. So we offer greetings and welcome to our Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota and our Lakewood Ranch Unitarian Universalists, and our visitors as well. We are, for the month of January, back to live stream services only, and we look forward to, hopefully in February, but as soon as possible, returning to our time of multi-platform services, both online and in person. We especially do welcome our visitors. I hope that while you are online, you'll take a moment to go to the website and click on the banner that says our welcome visitors. And there it will take you to various information to help you get to know more about our congregation, as well as a place where you can sign our virtual guest book. If you do that, we will send you our contact newsletter, which will help you get to know us better. Also, we'll send you the various Zoom links that we use for meetings and for other groups so that you can also try those out. And we look forward to you joining us on campus when you're able to. We also want to remind folks that at the end of the service, we will have a virtual coffee hour that is online. It is the same Zoom link that we use when we come together for the morning forum. So hopefully you have that link. If not, please in the future, you can just look for it in the contact, or we will send it to you as well. So I would like to invite Linda Bodycomb to come forward now and offer some information about an important tradition here at the congregation, Guest at Your Table, and UU Service Committee. Welcome.
Thank you, Doug. Good morning and Happy New Year. I am Linda Bodycomb, your liaison to the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. Did you know that now is the time for courageous change? The injustices and crises of the past year have underscored the importance of making sure everyone can benefit from exercising their full human rights. Speaking of human rights, this morning in the forum, we learned about the work of the Service Committee and what they're doing for human rights. They're using as their guiding principles those that were first laid out in the International Declaration of Human Rights, which was created after World War II. This declaration is part of the foundational documentation of the United Nations and championed by Eleanor Roosevelt. Our Service Committee's projects in the U.S. and internationally follow these guidelines just like we follow the UU principles. In fact, our principles stem from this human rights document. January is the month we as UUs support the work of the Service Committee. If you are a member of the Service Committee already, you can renew your membership in January, actually any time of year, but if you do it this month, you get counted with the others in our congregation, and we get brownie points for our church. If you are new, we would like to encourage you to join. You can learn all about the Service Committee by going to their website at uusc.org, or you can get in touch with me. You may ask, how can I support them now that our services are back on virtual status? Starting next week, there will be a link on our website to contribute directly to the Service Committee, and our Sarasota congregation will get credit. $40 will get you a yearly membership for you and your family. And if you're feeling really generous, a $150 donation will be matched by another congregation, the Shelter Rock UU Church on Long Island. The Social Justice Committee has also decided to designate the Service Committee as the January recipient of Share the Plate, another opportunity for you to show your support. Over the next few weeks, I will be providing you more information about the Service Committee and how you can help. Look at the weekly articles in the Contact. My contact information is there just in case you would like to ask me any questions. Thank you for listening and your past support. And remember, now is the time for courageous change, which is this year's theme. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. We look forward to the opportunity to support the important work of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. We will now move more deeply into our service. We will begin by having our Prelude, and played by Zofia Tursanova, our guest pianist today. We move now into the chalice lighting, and we invite you at home, if you have a candle or your own chalice, to light it along with us. We bid you welcome on this first Sunday of the new year. Like Janus, we gather with part of us looking backward and part of us looking forward. We gather on the edge of the new year, saddened by our losses, cherishing our joys, aware of our failures, mindful of days gone by. We gather on the cusp of this new year, eager to begin anew, hopeful for what lies ahead, promising to make changes, anticipating tomorrows and those tomorrows. We invite you to join our celebration of life, knowing that life includes good and bad, endings and beginnings. We bid you welcome. We light this chalice to light the path of our beginnings. This week, while Catherine is away, I'm going to share a time for all ages. And today I'm sharing something based on a book written by Vera Brosgol entitled Memory Jars. Now, I'm not going to tell you the entire story or read the book to you. That book is available for purchase, and it's also available at the local public library. It's a wonderful story. But I am going to talk a little bit about the core idea of the book, what the main character does, because I think that it fits very well for the spirit of today's service, and also an important thing for us to remember. But first, a little bit about the main character of Memory Jars, Frida. One July, Frida and her gran went blueberry picking, and the berries were at their best flavor and ripeness. And Frida loved eating them. She ate as many as she picked, honestly, but she realized that there were way too many berries for them to be able to eat them all before they went bad. This made her very upset. It seemed like a horrible waste. But her gran reassured her. "Worry not, French fry," she said. "We will use them in my special jam." It was your grandpa's favorite. Frida remembered her grandpa and how he loved the special blueberry jam and how he would carefully spread the jam to every corner of the toast so that every bite was sweet. Frida could tell her gran was remembering grandpa as well. If we put these berries into jars, they will stay good a long time. We can have them even in January that way. So, Frida got a marvelous idea, but it would take a lot of jars. Maybe she could save things she liked and loved the most so that they lasted a long time and stayed the same. And so she got to work. Frida saved all sorts of things. Let's see what she has in her jar. Let's see, she has warm cookies, she has Halloween candy, she has a new stuffed animal with the tag still on, she has robin's eggs, poppies, unscuffed sneakers, brand new crayons, and a rocket pop, unmelted, of course. Frida saved other things too. Mrs. Alexander's beautiful singing voice drifted over the neighborhood, as it did every Saturday afternoon, and straight into one of Frida's jars, where the song would live safe and never ending. The clouds that looked just like a unicorn would never be pushed back into a mushy nothing by the wind. And the laser-bright rainbow would never dim as the sun moved. So many things she loved, she saved. I wonder if you could save some things in a jar, what that would be. I was thinking about what I would want to save in a jar. I would want to save some of the things that were given to me. Now, the most important things that were given to me by the people that I love are not really tangible things, things you can touch, but I could put some things that remind me of the people that I love very much into a jar, like one of the pieces of prayer beads that one of my teachers gave me in school, or some of the gifts that my mom gave to me before she passed in the last year? What are some of the things that you might put in a jar? Well, all of that work made Frida very hungry. So she made toast, and it was warm and crunchy, but something was missing. She got some jam and spread all the way to the edges so it would be sweet. And it tasted like. And as she tasted that first wonderful bite of that special jam, Frida remembered. So many important things in her life were brought back by the memory of that taste. So it is important for us to remember important things, people, places, to hold them in our memory for a long time. Today's service is about remembering. What has happened in the last year, for instance, is important to us. We can remember those things anytime, but often after New Year's Eve and in the celebration of the new year, we try to remember what was powerful and wonderful, but also what was difficult in the last year. It's important for us to use any occasion where we can to call to mind what has been essential to us. What people, what ideas, what places that we remember. All of our memories are important in shaping who we are and connecting us with each other. That is part of what will bring us together today, is to remember in the last year the things that have come into our lives and the people and things that we have lost as well. Let's join in our opening hymn to honor that idea, hymn number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
So today's service follows a different style than many of our services. It really is just a few moments for us to recollect. It is more contemplative in its rhythm. We begin by a reading from Alfred Neu's entitled The Loom of Years. In the light of the silent stars that shine on the struggling sea, in the weary cry of the wind and the whisper of flower and tree, under the breath of laughter, deep in the tide of years, I hear the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. The leaves of winter wither and sink in the forest mold to color the flowers of April with purple and white and gold. Light and scent and music die and are born again in the heart of a gray-haired woman who wakes in a world of pain. The hound, the fawn, and the hawk, and the doves that croon and coo were all one woof of the weaving, and one warp threads us through. One flying cloud in the shuttle that carries our hopes and fears as it goes through the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. The green, uncrumpling fern and the rustling, dew-drenched rose pass with our heart to the silence where the wings of music close. Pass and pass to the timeless that never a moment mars. Pass and pass to the darkness that made the sun and stars. Has the soul gone out in the darkness? Is the dust sealed from sight? A hush, for the woof of the ages returns through the warp of the night. Never that shuttle loses one thread of our hopes and fears as it comes through the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. Awoven in one wide loom through the throbbing weft of the whole, one in the spirit and flesh, one in body and soul. Through the leaf we're alone in its falling, the bird in its hour to die, the heart in its muffled anguish, the sea in its mournful cry. And yet, one with the flower of a day, one with the withered moon, one with the granite mountains that melt into the noon, one with the dream that triumphs beyond the light of spheres. We come from the loom of the weaver that weaves the web of years. Here ends our reading. In a moment, as we hear the offertory, may we remember all of the gifts that we have received in our life. This time invites us to think very seriously about those gifts, to be grateful for their presence in our lives, and to allow them to help us know how we might best pass forward that spirit of abundance and generosity. As we take in the music of the offertory as its own gift, may we give as generously as we can. We invite you to remember that right underneath the YouTube setting where you are tuning in on the service, there is a link that will take you to a place where you can give to the congregation. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. We will now hear the music of our offertory as we receive our offerings. Let's spend a few moments together in allowing ourselves to thoughtfully, carefully contemplate the changes of the last year, both very personally in our connections with each other and also in the world around us. It is appropriate to begin the calendar year by taking stock of changes. In our lives, we have at least two major shifts in energy: the people and other important matters that leave our lives, and the new arrivals that bring new possibilities. It's hard to know just when and how humanity gained real knowledge of this bookend of beginnings and endings. How long did the cycle of life remain a mystery? Perhaps not long. There were so many clear examples in nature itself about how things worked and the sense of the cycle of things. Why did things work the way that they do? Was there some way that we might be able to keep death and harm away? Was it possible for us to ensure that new life would come to us, whether it be in human and animal form or just in the crops that helped sustain us? Birth and death, from the very beginning of our humanity, has been a time of fragility and fear, even if we regard it as natural and perhaps in the bigger sense of the flow of things, good. And religion formed the critical pathway not only to help people explore such questions about the purpose of those big bookends, but even at times to try to influence the ways that we lived out our answers to this complex interchange in the world. Or to suggest, perhaps, that neither birth nor death were the entire equation. There was more to life than might meet our mortal eyes. And yet, birth and death remain one of the few human certainties, and we have become privy to its images and stories, and sometimes seemingly more distant from its deeper truths. I believe that at our best, faith traditions call us to come to terms with the power of all aspects of living. It seems that if we were better able to embrace the truths of life and death, enfold all of the truths in our lives, that there would be greater hope for wars, famine, crimes of hatred to not have such a strong hold, being so deeply based in our fear, in our own sense of our own fragility. We would understand both the ordinary and the profoundly sacred in each and every life. And in particular, this year seems especially intense in the turning of the cycle of the months. In ways that we never would have imagined, the leaving of significant aspects of our life and the coming of new possibilities have maybe never seemed quite as poignant as they have at some times in the last many months. So in this spirit, as we begin a new year, we honor the endings as well as the beginnings. We say goodbye to all who in the past year have died, to those known to us, and to the million more that remain unknown. We know that there are so many circumstances of those deaths, and yet each of them pointed towards a unique life that offered gifts to the world and had their own set of challenges. We know that many people lived full and long lives, and it's easier sometimes to understand those deaths as part of this bigger cycle. But we also know that many more died young. Many died in horrible circumstances, sometimes swept along by the winds of war or other violence, sometimes in accidents that claimed their lives swiftly and shockingly. Some have struggled, some have passed in relief. It is important for us for a moment to take all of that in and how we understand the larger meaning of life. It is possible that each of you gathered as part of this service today have in some way experienced a living testament to these losses in your larger life. I wonder what it is that you would say to those folks that you are aware of that have passed on, if you were able to offer those words. Perhaps for those who lived fully, whatever that time might be, we would offer a sort of bow of honor and hold a moment of gratitude for the time they walked with us and shared among us. Perhaps for those who live with great difficulty, whatever the source of that difficulty, we would bow in honor to their gift of life too, wishing for them peace and release. And may we not forget all of the deaths that were caused by systems and actions that we are responsible for or have a stake in. We bow also to our acknowledgement of our complicity in the systems that harm people and the earth itself. And we take from them an acknowledgement of the importance to work for a deeper sense of the interconnected web. We hold our memory not in guilt, but in one that moves us to not let those injustices go unaddressed. And so, we will light a few candles and take just a moment to let those candles symbolize some of the more powerful components of our life. And we begin by remembering some of the folks that we have lost in the last year. To pierce the darkness but not dispel it, we will light candles. This first candle represents the members of this congregation in the last year who have died. At home, if there are folks in particular that you are holding in your mind and heart that were a member of this congregation that have died, I invite you, as you look at this candle, to speak their names. I will speak the names of the folks that we know of in the congregation that have died in the last year. I invite you, if you knew those folks, for a moment as I say their names, to call their gift of their life to your mind. Laura Bagby, who died in April. Jolie Ennis, who died in July. Linda Pletsky, who also died in July. Louise King, who died in August. Betty Thorner, who died in September. Louise Mallory Steinspring, who died in November. David Olson, who died also in November. And Thomas Toller, who died in December. We light a second candle and move a little larger in that loom of years that holds us together. I invite you to call to mind, outside of the congregation, friends and family members that you have lost in this past year. Again, holding their memory, and if it's meaningful to do so, because it makes it more real, to speak their name out loud as you sit where you are. Some of the folks that we know of that you are remembering today are Gerard Cook, who passed away on November 12th at the age of 91, Mary Ann Hanrahan, Krista Williams, Lieutenant General Otto J. Gunther, Mike Inebnit, Violet Geneva Wadkins, Janie Knox, Diane Vaughn, Fred Rourke, Stanley Ingen, who died the 11th of last month at 99 years of age. Jacqueline Jansen, who, while she never actually attended our congregation, in the last months of her life regularly watched our live stream service all the way in Houston and found it a great comfort. She would take notes in her notebook. I talked to her husband, who said that it meant a lot to her. So we acknowledge how sometimes that connection is larger than we know. We remember her along with other people that we are missing today. And then finally, in remembering losses. We invite you to think about the many folks in our world that have passed in this last year. If there's a particular name of someone that you knew even tangentially, you may hold them or speak their name. Certainly many of us are aware of both still of Desmond Tutu and of Betty White this weekend as we think about people in the larger life that have passed. But also, this third candle can represent something beyond human loss. What are you thinking about today that brings forth a sense of meaning in terms of what you have lost in your life? It may be a big change in a relationship, in a job. It may be moving away from a place. There are all sorts of circumstances that the last year may have brought your way. For just a moment, I invite you to hold all of those. To honor all those lives and more, I invite you to join us in one verse of hymn number 103, For All the Saints.
For all the saints who from their labor rest, who thee by faith before the world confessed, thy name most holy be forever blessed. Alleluia, alleluia.
Thank you, Paul Lewis, for joining your voice with me today. So the second part of our honoring has to do with the births in the last year. Since we last celebrated New Year, millions of children have been born into this world. And whatever the lands of their birth, the language of their parents, the color of their skin, or even the amount of time that they spend on this planet, the fact of their coming remains one of the most sacred truths and gifts in our existence. They are our hope, because through them, humanity is able to produce more of a sense of its larger self. We are able to move forward and fulfill ideas in the past which have only been partially known or even that we've been equal to. And with a slowly awakening consciousness of our place in the family of humankind, to all these children, we say, happy birthday. You do not have to prove to us your worth. Being here on this planet is all that is needed to be known as worthy and full of promise. We take seriously our role of caring for and nurturing all children on this planet. Our intertwining fate forces us to admit how baby-like we all are, how despite all of our knowledge, with all of the powers that we have not made the world safe for each other. And so it is with not just joy, but also with a sense of responsibility we greet you into life. We will light 3 candles here as well. And the first one is to light 4 children that have been born into this congregation in the last year. We remember Jackie Grace Ellis, daughter of Jeff and Lisa Ellis, and sister of AJ. We remember Bowie McMullen, son of Megan McMullen, brother of Cody, Shaylin, and Nora. If there are other folks in the congregation that you are aware of, or for that matter, new friendships or new people in your life in the congregation, for a moment I invite you to hold them as a gift. Second, we light a candle to acknowledge the births, the new relationships that are part of your larger life and the larger life of humanity. For all of the children born into the great family of human beings, as you grow the flame of freedom, love, and justice, may it also grow within you. May you know that peace and love and blessing will come through you for generations to come. And finally, in our honoring of change, we honor the various changes in our lives that bring newness, sometimes which is a combination of both a blessing and a challenge. For the new friendships that we have, for the new opportunities to be of service in the world, for the ways that we care for one another, for the new circumstances, a new home, a new job, a new place that we live. For just a moment, whatever is true for you, may you hold that gift in this moment together. And now we honor those new possibilities in our life by joining together in We Are, number 1051.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Our closing words are taken from the writing of Lois Van Leer. Having let go, set our intentions, named our curiosities, committed our energies, and having given ourselves over to lives of balance, purpose, and meaning, on this day, on every day, in each moment when we can, let us begin again in love. Let's close our service with a traditional New Year's song, Ring Out Wild Bells.
Ring out wild bells to the wild, wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light, the year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let it die.
Are symbolic lights, but the truths that they illuminate for us remain as we move forward into this new year. And we extinguish this chalice, but we do not extinguish the light of that larger wisdom. We do not extinguish the fire of justice and our passion for meaningful living. We do not extinguish the warmth of community and connection. These remain until we gather together again. Thank you for joining us. We invite you to join us in just a moment online for our virtual coffee hour. We hope to see you here next week in our virtual service as we honor living with intention. Have a good day.